This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at CES 2016. To my immediate right is Dan O'Brien, Vice President, Virtual Reality for HTC. Welcome to the program, Dan.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So, of course, I mean, HTC has made a huge breakthrough in virtual reality. It's wonderful to see your addition to the VR industry. Can you tell us what the latest developments are with HTC and VR?
Great, thanks for having us. We're this week at CES. We're showing off the new hardware, the new Vive Pre system. It's our second edition developer kit, and it's a new headset built from the ground up to support a built from the ground up virtual reality platform with room scale and 360 coverage, right, of having content all around you. So, here we're showing off our new headset, our new controllers, which just feel great in your hand. They're tracked in space just like your headset is. And, we're here to kind of show off about this great system that was thought of from the ground up. We're also introducing our front-facing camera on the headset where we can actually grab images from your real world and have them overlay onto your virtual world, and we can use that for a safety system. It's actually a camera doing rendering and the software. It's actually translating it onto your display, so it can be used for all different types of ideas. And we're going to let the dev community actually find out all those ideas.
So, I heard about this and I read about this, but I think few really understand the significance of it. Because, HTC, and I'm sure you could do all kinds of scenarios, but it's being very much promoted as a walking solution where you're using the full space of the room, or at least within a range. Maybe you could tell us what that range is.
Sure. Well, we have laser tracking base stations in the room, which we don't like them to be any further than 5 meters apart. That essentially gives us a volume of space, a maximum volume of space of about 15 by 15. But the solution is very scalable. So when we thought of this solution and the VR experience we wanted to give consumers, we said, what is VR to us? And that is the holodeck, and you're at the center of the content. The content's all around you, and it's at 360 degrees, and you're interacting with it. So that's where we started. Like, that was the promise of VR, and that's what we're delivering on this week and showing people and letting people get exposure to. And with that, being able to move all around, you need to keep people safe. You need to make people feel very safe, that they're not going to bump into things or run into things or trip over things. And so the chaperone system was really critical to the success of this and being able to move around. So this system really, really delivers on that, where you can actually see your hard bounds and see your walls and see the different things in your room. You can see your cat. You can see your table. And it just gives people that comfort level that they're not going to bump into something or whack their head into something or have somebody else have some fun with them, right?
Yeah, it's intriguing because, when you think of a front-facing camera, you think that the imagery is going to somehow distract you from the virtual reality experience. Right. But instead, it's like, you're in that VR experience, but when you get close to a wall or, a big cable or something that could potentially get in the way, right, you see outlines of it versus the full thing. So you don't really get distracted from that VR experience. Very exciting stuff. When did this come into development?
Well, it was actually part of the design all along. It's just when it was going to be ready, that's when we could actually reveal it. And so, coming here to CES, we thought this is a perfect opportunity to reveal it. We wanted to get this out. We're giving 7,000 of these dev kits out to the dev community. We really want them to start working on applications using the camera and using the new controllers and using the new headset. We really improved the display to be brighter, more crisp, much higher level of presence with that. And we wanted to get these kits out there to really polish and finish their, finish content and get it ready for, pre-order and launch in April.
Off the top of your head, can you share some specifications, resolution, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't changed the resolution. What we actually started delivering to developers in December 2014 to actually what we're giving out now today, like, this is a much more refined piece. This is a much more, but in terms of resolution of 1200 by 1080 and room scale and controllers, this is what's been given out since December of 2014. And so people that actually have those dev kits, they can continue their work all the way through to launch and beyond. This is just the next evolution of that hardware and the features that go with it.
Okay, very good. So working on the premise that HTC launches in the current year, do you have some ideas to what kind of content we could look forward to?
I think we're going to look at a wide variety of content. When we go out and our truck tours out there and our college tours out there, and we're at different events like EGX and GDC coming up. We'll be at Sundance this year, South by Southwest, GDC. I think I've already repeated that one. Yeah, it's okay. But we have a lot of things coming up. Where we'll be continuing to show, and in a few weeks in January in Seattle, we'll actually have our first content showcase with Valve, where we'll have several of our content partners showing and revealing for the first time their content, and so we're excited about that. I think, but we will be showing a variety of things, and even at CES this week, we have partners like Audi showing their experience, Dassault Systems showing their experience. These are non-game experiences. We have non-game partners. We have a tremendous amount of really fanatical, great game partners. We're really excited about their content because these are the best. These are some of the best developers in the world. They understand developing for this platform. They understand frame rate, locomotion, storytelling, lighting, camera angles. They understand how to develop. And so these are really the best developers that we could have working on the Vive right now.
Okay, very good. Let's talk business a little bit. Sure. Now, I read that HTC was anticipating non-smartphone revenue to account for about 10% of their revenues. And I was impressed because one of the more recent announcements was HTC's work in China, that there's talk of virtual reality centers and so on. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I was wondering if you could speak to some of the creative business opportunities that HTC's been getting involved with.
So I think we're working with a lot of different partners, and when you think of the developer community, it's a global community, and who can be developing for the Vive platform. You have incredible developers coming out of the U.S. and Western Europe and even Eastern Europe and Russia and things like that, and then Asia and Japan. There's incredible developer talent that we're definitely going to tap into and work with. These are markets that you cannot ignore with VR in any way, and you shouldn't. This is a very talented pool, to pull from and engage and help to come up and develop their content. We really feel strongly from a development standpoint and working with developers, give them the hardware, give them the tools, give them the software, let them go create, and let them actually define the killer app, the best experiences. Let the developer community actually do that. And that's what we've been doing for the last year. We've just been giving our kits away to the dev community. We wish we can give more out to them, but we want to work really closely with them, help them. This is hard. This is not easy content to just start with, like anybody can do it. It's going to grow fast, but that's the exciting part.
So there's I call it maybe an expectation that when these HMDs are released, be it by HTC or other brands, it's like that one-to-one relationship. And what I mean by that is you need to sell X hundreds of thousands or millions of units. But are there opportunities in virtual reality that don't require that many sales but to still achieve revenue potential? So, are there specialized markets that HTC is looking at that go well beyond the consumer?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the B2B, the B2B to C. These markets are huge. The gaming opportunity, like I said earlier, these are the best devs. They're actually, I'm watching like 3 paths happen right now, and I'm really enjoying it. There is people just dead focused on creating great VR experiences and content, for the Vive system, where they're taking advantage of the controllers and room scale and 360 content and moving all around. And there's other developers that have actually just focused all their time and energy on developing tools for the developer community to create content, make it faster, easier. That's a very interesting market of just creating the tools, because that's a very profitable section. And then you look at like just the enterprise applications. We're working with car manufacturers who, instead of designing and building a car out of clay, like build it in VR, walk around it, sit in it, change it while you're in it. You know, furniture design companies, and you know, so many education parallels. You know, and that at the core of it applies to so many places. Like if you can master simulation scenarios, where we've talked with partners who are thinking about how to make firefighters safer, you know, and teaching them how fire will move through a room and chaotic situations and crisis situations and how to handle it, you know, on an oil platform or something like that, that's on fire, whatever. But there's a million places that this can be used in the enterprise space, way beyond gaming. If you talk to any of the game developers, they're being talked to by the enterprise world and saying, I need help creating this content. You know, we meet partners all the time that, you know, they want to get into it, they want to dive into it. They do the Vive demo, they see the promise, and they see that it's real, and they see, wow, I can do something with this. It applies to my world, and you know, we help those partners either make their content, or we're happy to help pair them up with another studio that can help them make that content. But yeah, it's really interesting right now. I've met a couple of enterprise businesses that have just straight up poached out of the gaming business into their development groups to actually start creating content for a very non-game centric, you know, experience.
All right, very good, very good. You know, another question I have. HTC, their roots are in mobile and smartphones. What are your thoughts about mobile and virtual reality?
Well, you know, for us, you know, we looked at initially, you know, the VR, you know, as a whole, what it was, and for us, it was the holodeck. It was moving around. It was interacting with your content. That's the most immersive experience you could give, and so that's where, you know, we really landed. That's what we wanted. We definitely think that there is opportunity at that rotational VR, you know, scenario, and that content. It's interesting and it's good, and it's getting better, and I think that's something that consumers are definitely going to consume, and they're going to enjoy it. And then there's, you know, seated positional, but I think, you know, what we went for was kind of a leadership position. We wanted people to really feel like HTC's got, you know, and what Valve and HTC have come together to build is the quintessential VR experience, and then let people tell us that we've met that mark, because we feel like we're almost there. Not quite. We've got more to reveal, more to come. But yeah, I think the mobile space is super interesting in that rotational space. I think it's fun. There's going to be different experience levels for different entrance levels for consumers.
So I have a little story for you, and I think you're going to like this story, because it leads to my next question. So when the Vive first got announced, I think it was not the previous GDC, perhaps the GDC before.
It was Mobile World Congress and GDC last year. Okay. Those were the two places that we dropped that bomb.
Okay, I remember now. And what happened was I wanted to try it out, but of course the demos were all filled up and the whole thing, but that's okay. So I live and breathe this stuff. Good. Anyway, I guess it must have been on my mind, so I had a dream, okay? Like a couple months later, I have this dream, and in my dream, I'm going to an HTC booth, and they're waving me in, Neil, come, try it out, try it out. So I go to try it out, and I carry a little camera bag with me on a roller, and I say, okay, I'm just going to get my camera. And just as I'm getting my camera, they say, no, and they take the Vive away, and I wake up. And then as I wake up, I'm laughing. I'm thinking, gee, even in my dreams, I don't get to try the HTC Vive. So it's an absolutely true story. Anyway, I really enjoyed your product. I joke that either my dream or my undream came true, because I don't know which is which, but it was really amazing stuff. So this leads me to my next question. You know, you try it, you can't help but be impressed. Not just, of course, by HTC, but other brands as well. We've really come a long way with modern virtual reality, and it's, you know, the ability to give it out to people, right, and to sell it. But how, you know, what creative ideas has HTC been doing to kind of get this messaging out to a mass market? Because that's a big challenge to really convey virtual reality as it is today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I can't put up a TV ad or a billboard and just say, Vive is great, you know, enjoy it, you know, and expect that to just sell VR headsets. You have to get people into the headset. I think in a lot of ways, the consumer base is going to grow like the developer base. You know, you'll see a lot of parallels in how those have grown and the types of content that's going to be created for the consumers that are going to want to consume that content. And that's very important to think about. And then just go back to business basics, right? Consumer electronics adoption, new technology adoption. a growing content platform. This isn't like 500,000 channels, of 2D content that you can consume, and whatever game, from you can go into a store and buy or buy online. This is going to be a progression, and I think it's going to get to mass, I think, very quickly, just because of how people want to, get this get this experience and have this experience. But there's these initial customers that are discerning and have a point of view and are very opinionated. And what we built an experience for and what we designed for was something that was our own goal. That's who we're competing with. But we also want that discerning, very opinionated, early adopter, innovator to get our product and say, yes, you nailed it, and that's the one I want. And then it will grow from there. You can't expect people to just, your mom and dad to just be like, yeah, I'm getting this because I want to try it. They're going to let somebody else tell them that was the best thing, and then they're going to say, yeah, I want to go get that.
So there's, at least leading up to CES, there was a perception that, once products get released, they're going to sell in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions. I mean, one study said an industry valued at like $70 billion by 2020. Mm-hmm. What would be, I don't know if you agree with it or you disagree with it, but in HTC's point of view, what do you think is like a timeline for mass market adoption? Like what maybe another way to put it is, what would be a comparable technology that you would like to see VR compared to?
Well, it's really hard to compare this to something else. It's, from an experience, like, you can make people experience your product, your idea, your story in such a more intimate way than you ever could before. So to parallel to something is really hard to do. But I do think that, first year adoption, could be very, very healthy numbers for an ecosystem of people that are getting exposed to it at a rotational layer, to people that are looking for that really, premium experience, that VR experience. I can't go into specific numbers. I wish I could.
Well, I'm not so much interested in sales numbers, but like, let me put it this way. Is it going to be like a 1 year industry spurt, or is it going to be like, a 5-year commitment, a 10-year commitment? Like, I mean, if you look at HDTV, it took 10 years before that was really in everyone's living room. Yep. What's, HTC, I mean, they when they're doing their planning, I mean, mm-hmm. what kind of span of time do they think of?
I think it's going to be a healthy start for the first year. I think as long as you have the right experience and good content, you'll see very healthy numbers in the first year. And then, I think it's going to grow exponentially year 2 and 3. And the important thing in year 1 is give an economy to the developers. Because then as content continues to grow, as they continue to see that they can monetize, then you'll see, hardware sales and hardware partners really continue to grow their business. And then, you need both of these things to happen at the same time. And, if content was to stay constrained, that would just hurt the industry. If there's exclusives all over the industry, that's going to hurt the industry. Like, the important part is help the dev community get their content up, and then drive. I think, there's going to be a big fight in a couple of years, but for now, let's lift this ocean up. Let's get a real, business and a real economy around virtual reality and get consumers excited about it, get past the innovators and the early adopters as fast as possible. And we need the dev community to help us get there.
Okay, and one more question for you. I'm sure you've gone through a lot of experimentation in the company, both with Valve and with HTC, and you probably have a bird's eye view in your position of where the industry's at, where it's headed. Are there fundamentals or problems you'd like to see solved, not necessarily just with the hardware or software, but just the industry in general? Like, would you like to see some developments happening over the next few years?
I think looking at what, HTC, we were looking at VR, and our CEO, Sher Wang, met with Valve and saw the demo, and she was immediately convinced of this is the VR solution. We need to partner together and go work together, and Valve agreed, and this has been a great partnership. I'd love to see more partnerships out there where people do these things, because you can kind of step away and bring core competencies together and deliver something really amazing. I think, for me, coming from, the industry and the history of HTC, the products that we have made and what we've done for the last 10 plus years, I think about the dev community and the content community, it's really fun to watch and experience and be a part of, because there's so much sharing. And I think what really needs to continue and really needs to be embraced and continue growing is that sharing, because there's no standards. There's no best practices. If anybody says they've got a best practice, I wouldn't believe it, because right now the dev community they share the ideas, and they share like the best locomotion techniques and the best angle techniques, and I think that piece really needs to continue. We need to encourage that.
Do you think any one company has the means to say they've got the best practice?
No, it's too early. No way. I think, and I think the best practices will always come from the dev community, and we should encourage that at all times, to let that happen, and then and let the devs decide. I say devs, but let the dev community decide the best practices and the best ways to solve problems, and let them share that amongst themselves, because they're going to do it better than anybody else can.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at CES 2016. We will, of course, be back with more. Thank you for watching.